Hello, everyone. It is a great day for Transformer fans and a terrible day for Transformer fans' budgets. This is the moment. Generations Haslab Deathsaurus has officially completed its campaign, and it is fully funded 100% with a grand final total of 27,442 backers, barring any kind of cancellations that you have until sometime in January, I believe, to make if you absolutely have to. But the point is, it is happening. The toy is getting produced. Everything with the toy is getting produced, and it is a fantastic thing to see. Now, I want to go over this campaign one last time because this is literally our last chance to talk about this in any way, shape, or form. From here on out, it'll just be little mentions and news roundups as we hear little bits of what is going on. I'm sure we'll see the same thing we saw with Star Saber and Victory Leo, where we'll get part breakdowns, engineering process, the paint process, any kind of production challenges, etc., etc. Those occasional little updates to let us know that this toy is being fully developed and on the way for its fall 2023 release. Hey, that's actually a little bit faster than Victory Saber got produced, so good on them. So now, it is just left to us to go over and see exactly how this campaign went and basically review it, see how it went, because they've come a long way as far as doing all of these Transformer Haslabs. For starters, we'll go back in time and look at the other ones first. So we have Unicron, which was the hang on, we'll get to that. We have Unicron first, and I still regret not getting up the money to actually afford Unicron. At the time, is just way beyond my budget, and I will probably have to wait for somebody to leave me theirs in their will in order to own one at this point. That or get lucky at the lottery. And I'd have to get super lucky at the lottery because I never play the lottery. But this one was dicey. So at $575, it was a huge big ticket item for Transformer fans to be able to afford in the first place. And then we had some weirdness with how it was handled. So for starters, this did not make its funding goal. This is the only Haslab to date that was actually extended because it was not going to make its target of 8,000 backers, so they gave everyone another couple weeks in order to try and get their funds up and try and get some more orders in. And in that time, they started producing more things and started announcing improvements in order to get more people on board. So this did not have any stretch goals. They just kind of kept throwing things out there to pack in. Things that essentially didn't cost too much more to include, but just hoping that if we make the package look a little bit better, more people will get in on this and maybe we'll be able to actually fund it. They threw in a digital comic book. They added in better articulated hands. They added in the Autobot shuttle as well as a tiny little Hot Rod and Galvatron. The Galvatron, it's not pictured here anymore, but the original depiction for that was literally, they took the Titan Return toys, they 3D printed out the CAD models, and then just showed them off, like, hey, we're going to get you this as well. You can kind of even see it, like, without even me, like, blowing it up or anything. You can see the posture on that Hot Rod, the wide shoulder stance, and you can tell it is the Titan's Return take on the character. And the Galvatron is the same way. Because, hey, that was just the quickest thing to do. Now, in the final production, they actually went G1 accurate. So, of course, it's like this was just like literally the quickest thing they could throw together to say, wait a minute, you're getting this too. You're getting this too. They also threw in a stand for his head so you could have it displayed in its floating dead mode if you really, really wanted to. So, like, it was things like that, just kind of like last minute. There's the 3D printed Galvatron. There you can see it a little bit more. But things like that got kind of crammed in as almost like they hadn't planned on anything else being included with Unicron. But when the sales weren't there, they just started throwing in whatever they could that it was cheap and ready to make or, wouldn't add too much more to the development of the toy. which is understandable. This was one of the first things they ever did with Haslab, and is like a massive undertaking, so they weren't prepared. Now, they learned a lot. And went on to Victory Saber, which I think was handled far better than Unicron. Much smaller project, by the way. $180 for two very exclusive figures. That's a little bit more palatable, especially when you factor in shipping and all that is packed in with it. And then, yeah, they handled this up far better. There were actual tiers, so you actually had things that you could go for if there was enough people behind it. Things to encourage you to keep pledging and keep spreading the word. Tier 2 being the flight stand, and Tier 3 being Star Saber's shield and his 2 of his Micromaster buddies. This was met with better response than Unicron. Obviously it was. Unicron, we don't have a final total. We just know more than 10,000 backed it. Victory Saber, on the other hand, 26,211. And I actually think it's super cool to know exactly how many Legacy Star Sabers exist, so I know how special mine is. I think at the time, though, a lot of people were kind of upset about a lot of how they handled those stretch goals. For starters, the V-Lock cannon is kind of a vital thing for Victory Leo. Frankly, his vehicle mode doesn't really look like much of anything without it. And it's the signature weapon for a Victory Saber. So to leave it out would be really disheartening. Also, I don't think anyone was really impressed with having extra blast effects. I think a lot of people just kind of like... I know there's people who like the blast effect parts, but I think a lot of people are just like, okay, it's just nice to get bundled in, but it's not a reason you buy any particular toy. I think even the one figure they did, where it was just, here's a weaponizer, and here's a whole bunch of parts to go with it, and here's a bunch of blast effects too. I think we were still in that for the parts, I wanted that little reflector camera. I wanted the little roller to complete my Earthrise Optimus Prime. That's kind of why I bought that. I don't think I ever used the blast effects in any way, shape, or form. And I kind of feel like that's going to be the same here. Outside of shooting a review for Victory Saber, I don't think I'm ever going to use the blast effects. But it was weird to actually know that there's a chance that the V-Lock cannon could not potentially be included in this set when it seems so vital to the character. Weird. And then when we get to Tier 2, it's just a flight stand. Now, admittedly, a nice looking flight stand. It's got the big V Victory thing. It works for both robot mode and for the flight mode. It's sturdy enough for standard Star Saber or Victory Leo or the combined modes. So you had a lot going there, but at the same time, flight stands are not exactly the most thrilling things to include. I do think it's appropriate for a stretch goal because it's not necessary at all to the character, but it really did feel lacking, like it wasn't doing a whole lot for the set in general. And then when you get to 20,000, 2 repainted Micromasters and 1 single piece of plastic for the shield. Technically 2, because the handle's a separate piece. And it just kind of felt underwhelming, didn't it? It just kind of felt like they're asking a lot more money and a lot more backers for things that weren't really all that exciting. Now, admittedly, the package was pretty complete from the get-go. Once you actually had the V-Lock cannon unlocked, you pretty much had a full Victory Saber experience. So what else were you actually going to throw in? I think for the source material, I think they did about as well as they could. Then we get to Deathsaurus. So let's actually talk this campaign. 27,442 backers. More than 1,000 more are buying this toy than Victory Saber, which is kind of surprising. That's actually that's kind of interesting. So it's weird that there's actually going to be more of the villain around than the hero. It's a weird thing. So this campaign had a lot of things going for it. For starters, the fact that Victory Leo was arriving during the final weeks of the campaign probably did a lot to drive the hype behind this toy and get people to back it at the last minute. I'm sure a ton of people got swayed when they started seeing Victory Leos and Star Sabers popping up on their timelines all the time. Now everyone's in the mood for victory. Now everyone's kind of excited about it. They paced it pretty well also. Like, not only was the release of this thing timed specifically to coincide with Victory Saber arriving in people's mailboxes, they also managed to time out everything with the reveals of this toy pretty well, from the original proof of concept to the sculpted proto, hand-painted proto, or I guess color renders before that, hand-painted proto, until we get this final take on it we see here with the chrome and everything. Very gradually, so that there was always a little bit of an update throughout the entirety of the campaign. So that was really well done by Hasbro. Okay, so that was paced pretty well. And yeah, like, Star Saber is definitely part of the scheme to this. I mean, it helps the toys look fantastic all the way through. Now, I do feel like, because we're dealing with one figure with one set of engineering and not two, now keep in mind, Victory Saber has a lot going on. So you've got the Brainmaster, you've got Saber himself and his vehicle mode, and then combining with the V-Star to create Star Saber in both vehicle and robot mode. You got the extra elements for combination. Then you got Victory Leo, who is Beast mode, robot mode, flight mode, all simplistic. He's not a complicated character in the least, but it also has to break apart and become Star Saber's upgrades. That's a ton of stuff for one set of toys to do. Deathsaurus, on the other hand, has a huge advantage in that he really only has to do one thing: transform into his dragon chicken mode. That's it. Everything else is pretty much as expected, which means a lot more could be put into those stretch goals budget-wise, I feel, which I think really made him, I really think set him apart and gave him a leg up. Now, for starters, the base toy seemed like it could do a lot in the first place. You got both of his breast force figures, so it's now a tiger chest and eagle chest, because we can't call them tiger breast and eagle breast. You know, I'm sorry, breasts are things that everyone has, otherwise I couldn't order them at the menu at Kentucky Fried Chicken. But they tried to include as much as they could in the base figure, again, because, hey, they had the budget to do it. So both of them are included. The gimmicks work completely, just like they did in the original G1 toy. You can see here he did the bow mode, so he's got that. Tail still becomes a shield. Big sword. So he gets his signature weapon just as Star Saber got his. Everything else, on the other hand, does feel like stuff that is nice to get as well, but I wouldn't have been disappointed to miss out on them, unless the backing was like super close after all. So like if we look at his stretch goals, for starters, you have the living metal destroying cannon, which I always hesitate in order to remember exactly how to say. But it also comes with his flail, and then, yes, more effect parts. Now, again, the effect parts are just kind of along for the ride. But we're getting two signature weapons for, instead of one giant one with Victory Saber. Already an improvement. And the fact that one of them actually has a secondary mode that we see there. Great. Absolutely awesome. So we get even more for the character to do. All right, so so that is already improved. And then Hasbro, I think even Hasbro admitted, publicly, that the flight stand really didn't do a whole lot for people. So this time, the flight stand is also the stand for a throne, because the throne seemed to go over pretty well with Coronation Starscream. I know it's just a big hunk of plastic, but it's actually a nice hunk of plastic. And like that one, this one stores all the extra accessories, so it's also practical and useful. Also, I do like, here's my personal preference, it all seems to be opaque plastic instead of translucent, so I'm far more likely to use this as a flight stand than I am Star Sabers. But that's just me. But you'll note, it's just, they just seem to balance it out a lot better. The stretch goals just seemed like they included a lot more, which was fantastic. And then came the surprise of the campaign. So Hasbro sent out an email thanking everybody for backing it, and they announced that because so many people did, we're actually getting a secret stretch goal. We're getting Boater and Peepo. That's That's fantastic. And they're both completely new mold Micromasters to complete Holly and Fire. So you have the Rescue Patrol from Victory complete. And it's weird. It's so weird. This is going to be the only modern Micromaster team that's completed. The other teams never got their other companions from the original G1 4-packs. It's weird. It's weird. Okay, you finally get one complete team of Micromasters. It all only takes you $360 to buy. I think you can get one sealed on card from the original G1 for less than that. I don't know. I do think it's special, though. And I do like that it's just thrown in there as a surprise. Because, yeah, like the Micromasters at $20,000 really wouldn't have wowed or impressed anybody. I don't think that would have gotten more people to sign up for it. But as a surprise bonus to complete the Micromaster team, I think it's a fantastic thing to include. So, really happy Hasbro went the extra mile for that. It also... It does a couple weird things to your head. It kind of makes you wonder if any other Haslabs had stretch goals we never got. And it does kind of make me wonder, it's going to like put that in everybody's heads. Hey, if we back it enough, they might throw in something else they didn't announce. So, wait and see. We'll have to wait and see. But that does raise the point. What's next after this? You know, and I've speculated on this so many times. I don't want to go too long onto this one. But I do want to actually throw a few things out there. So the last time I speculated on this, I was actually going off some bad info, and I really wasn't as informed as I wanted to be on that one. So for this campaign, they actually did mention that the next Transformers HasLab would not be a Victory character. We keep in mind, next year's HasLab for Transformers means that it's going to be released, and it's actually going to hit people's mailboxes. I say mailboxes, these are way too big for mailboxes. But people are going to get it during the 40th anniversary of the franchise, so they're looking at something for the big 40th anniversary, which does limit what they could potentially do. So it's got to be Generation 1, right? It's got to be something G1 related if it's going to be like a 40th anniversary piece. And also, I was mistaken. It's not going to be an Optimus Prime. It's never going to be an Optimus Prime because Optimus Prime always sells. They're never going to have to HasLab it, even if it's some big, complicated, weird one like Energon or anything like that. So, what could it be? Now, the problem with G1 is there's very little that's left untapped. So, what else are you going to do? So, a few ideas do come to mind. There are a few popular choices. For starters, there's a lot of people who want another go-around at Devastator that's maybe more cartoon accurate or has more features to him or has a better balance of bulk between all of the individual figures. Because I'll admit, they're kind of cheap. Like, they're kind of like the individual Constructicons are kind of cheapo. And you get Long Haul in the middle, who looks like a Cybertronian sumo wrestler with T-Rex arms, no less. No. There's a lot of people who want another go at Devastator, but I think there's no reason to do that with Devastator because I think it's a big enough name. I think they could market Devastator no matter what, so I wouldn't be surprised to see that as a $200 Titan class at some point. Just, give it another go-around. I wouldn't be shocked. Primus also comes up as well. Primus is definitely one that wouldn't work at Titan class, but then again, you're talking about something that would potentially be a $600 item. That would be quite a feat, and to have like a G1 accurate Cybertron toy that's scaled to Unicron, that would be super cool. That would be super cool. Not scaled to Unicron, but be like comparable size-wise. And yeah, you base it on some of his more interesting designs. I could see that working. I see that being really cool. You know what I would throw in? I mean, the stretch goals you could already see in your head, right? I think Primus has great stretch goal options. You could have like a destroyed Unicron head that you could like mount to the base so it floats around like a moon. The base you could have like they could put in, if they want to really put in the budget to make a rotating base that actually rotates the planet around. Oh, great one. Here's a great one. Little clear stems you could peg onto the surface, and then onto those you could peg on little ships. So like the Axelon, the Dark Side, the Ark, the Nemesis, the Quintessence ship, the space shuttle from the movie, all these different vehicles and things that, like, you could just have Cybertron with just like this busy sky space, and that would be cool. So you've got stretch goal ideas there. It's just, and I feel like Primus is definitely one of those. So that's a strong contender. A lot of people want another Metroplex, and I am one of those people because the existing one is not really good as a Titan. They've gotten way better at engineering them since then, and it's not representative of the original design because it's Fall of Cybertron based. I would love another go at a Metroplex because it's one of those big deal pieces. You know, it's the first city bot. It's the first Transformer that turned into a play set for other Transformers. And you could make that like work with like core class or deluxe size figures even if you did it at the Haslab level. And not only that, it's one of those toys that you really could only get away with using once because the only repaint option is Metro Titan. That's you know, in contrast to say like Fort Max, who I could definitely see them doing as a $200 Titan figure because the accuracy of the original is just not there. The base mode is terrible. It doesn't look anything like his original one. And then there's repaint options involved too. Like the Grand Maximus thing in Japan that didn't really go over well, probably because the toy itself is not great. I feel like if it was more accurate and I feel like it was better featured, you'd actually have a lot better success with the toy. And I'd love another go around with them. There's outside options too. It doesn't necessarily have to be just a big Transformer. It could be some crazy like electronic Matrix toy. Can you imagine a Matrix toy that worked the way you always wanted a Matrix toy worked, where like you can't open the Matrix unless you stick your fingers into the holes of the handle to hit the triggers to release it. You know, it opens up, it floats the crystal inside, the crystal starts glowing or flashing when you open it up, the touch starts playing, there's quotes from Optimus, Galvatron, Rodimus, Ultra Magnus. There's a button on there that just says, damn it, open. I would love that. I would love that. That'd be a crazy piece. And like, if you want to talk iconography from Transformers, I don't think you get much stronger than the Matrix of Leadership. Now they've done Matrixes as statues. Like, they've done that before. I own one. I can see it from here. But they've never done one that has, like, actual toy features, you know, nothing toyetic. So I could see them doing something like that. You know, that feels like an appropriate anniversary piece to me. But more than likely, it's just going to be a big, fancy robot. In which case, I feel like Primus is a really good option to have just, like, a toy of Planet Cybertron. Or, yeah, Metroplex. Because Metroplex lends itself to a lot of options as well, as far as, like, stretch goals. I don't think you put in, like, 6-gun as an option, because he kind of needs those weapons for his base mode. Slammer, yeah. I mean, would you even throw in Slammer? Because we just got a Slammer in Kingdom that's pretty good. Definitely a new Scamper though. Definitely a new Scamper has to be a stretch goal. So that, my friends, is the Deathsaurus Haslab campaign. Very successful one, very well done one, I feel like. I feel like they've gotten way better at doing these campaigns and just leaves me like super curious about where they go from here. So that's pretty much the last we're going to be talking about Deathsaurus until fall of 2023. So I hope you enjoyed, and stay tuned. We'll be keeping you updated on the news roundups for updates on Deathsaurus. And yeah, a Victory Saber review is definitely coming from me as soon as I can figure out how to review something that does as much as it does. It's a challenge. So, thank you guys for watching. Feel free to speculate in the comments below, and I will see you next time. Guys, I am facing the most powerful enemy any YouTuber can face, the algorithm, and I need your help to defeat him. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment. Every time you do, we attack that algorithm and we drive it back until it can no longer defeat this channel. Thank you very much.